Okay, imagine this for a moment. You've just built the world's greatest search engine. Seriously, it's faster, it's smarter, it's better than anything out there. There's just one problem. It's the late 1990s, and you are incredibly late to the party. So how do you win a war that's supposedly already been lost? Well, the answer isn't in some modern business school. It's in an ancient, secret playbook for winning against all odds.
I mean, this was the exact puzzle a tiny startup was facing. The market wasn't just crowded, it was an absolute war zone, completely dominated by titans. A head-on fight? That would have been corporate suicide. So what do you do? I mean, really, what would you do? How in the world do you challenge an enemy that is bigger, richer, and more powerful in every single way?
And this was a brutal fight. We're talking millions upon millions of dollars poured into marketing, into features, into acquisitions. These companies were the absolute kings of the hill, and the digital battlefield was just littered with the bodies of startups that had dared to challenge them. To everyone watching, it looked like the game was over.
But this little startup, they had a secret weapon. An idea captured in this incredible ancient proverb. Instead of charging straight into the battle, they just stayed back. They observed. They let their rivals burn each other out, spend all their money, and reveal all their weaknesses in this fight for dominance. And only then, when the time was absolutely perfect, did they make their move. This, of course, was the strategy of a company we now know as Google. Now, what's so fascinating about this, what really gets me, is that this genius, counterintuitive strategy didn't come from Harvard or Stanford. It came from a little-known, centuries-old collection of strategic wisdom, a text that teaches you how to win, not by being stronger, but by being way, way smarter. And that text is called the 36 Stratagems. And believe me, this is way more than just a book. It's a completely different way of seeing the world. It's a playbook for turning your weaknesses into your greatest strengths, and for finding a path to victory where everyone else just sees a dead end. At its very core, this is a masterclass in psychological warfare. It's not about having a bigger army or more resources. It's about understanding your opponent's mind so well that you can lead them to their own defeat. The whole point here is to win the game before the battle even begins, using your mind as the ultimate weapon. So you've probably heard of Sun Tzu's masterpiece, The Art of War, right? And while they're both about strategy, they're playing on completely different fields. The Art of War teaches you how to master the battlefield. The 36 Stratagems, on the other hand, it teaches you how to avoid the battlefield entirely, to achieve your goals so cleverly that your opponent doesn't even realize they've been outplayed. It is the art of the indirect victory. So that brings up a question, right? Why 36? Is there something magical about this number? Is it a finite list of the 36 greatest tricks ever invented? Well, not exactly. And the real answer is actually way more beautiful. In Chinese philosophy, the number 6 is associated with yin, the subtle, the hidden, the clever. And 6 squared is 36. So the title is really a metaphor. It's a kind of poetic code that doesn't mean there are only 36 tricks, but that the potential for clever, indirect strategy is truly infinite. And the text itself is just wrapped in mystery. This wasn't written by one person. It's a collection of strategic proverbs drawn from thousands of years of Chinese history. For centuries, it was a secret manuscript passed from one general to the next like a hidden treasure. In fact, it was only in 1941 that a printed copy was accidentally discovered in a market, finally bringing all this incredible wisdom out of the shadows and into the world. Okay. This is where it gets really fun, because these ancient ideas aren't just for history books. Oh no, they're being used right now, every single day, in boardrooms, in marketing campaigns, maybe even in our own lives. So let's pull back the curtain and look at a few. First up, stratagem number 7. Create something from nothing. Sounds like a magic trick, doesn't it? Well, you know what? In a way, it is. The core idea here is brilliantly simple. You make your opponent believe a lie. Because if they believe it, they will react to it. They'll pour their time, their money, their energy into fighting a ghost. It's all about weaponizing your opponent's own imagination against them, leaving you free to go after your real goal. And who does this better than anyone? Apple. For years, months before a new product launch, the internet would just ignite with leaks and rumors, some true, many deliberately false. This not only creates insane levels of hype, it forces their competitors to chase shadows, scrambling to respond to features that might not even exist, all while Apple is quietly perfecting the real thing. It's genius.
But what if you don't want to create something from nothing? What if instead you could use someone else's power for your own gain? That brings us to stratagem number 3, kill with a borrowed knife. Why waste your own energy when you can use someone else's? It's a question of pure, ruthless efficiency. This stratagem is all about achieving your objective by using the strength of a third party. You get the victory, but they do all the heavy lifting for you. One of the most legendary examples in tech history is the birth of the personal computer as we know it. Steve Jobs saw the graphical user interface being developed at Xerox PARC and brilliantly borrowed it for the Macintosh. Then Bill Gates, working as Apple's partner, saw the Mac and borrowed that same concept to create Windows. Both Microsoft and Apple became global giants by wielding a knife that was actually forged by Xerox. All right, for our last example, let's look at one of the hardest strategies to master because it requires thinking not just about today, but about years from now. This is stratagem number 11, sacrifice the plum to preserve the peach. This is all about true foresight. It's about having the wisdom to accept a small, short-term loss, that's your plum, in order to protect your ultimate long-term prize, the peach. So many people get bogged down winning minor battles that they end up losing the war. This stratagem is the antidote to that. Just think about all the business fads we've seen. A decade ago, companies poured millions into getting Facebook likes, chasing this vanity metric they thought was a huge win. That was the plum. But then Facebook changed its algorithm, and those fan pages became almost worthless. The companies that sacrificed that short-term fad to focus on timeless principles, like building a great product or a direct relationship with their customers, well, they preserved their peach, a sustainable, long-term business. So, after going through these amazing examples, what's the big idea here? If there is one single thing to take away from all this, it's the profound power of thinking indirectly. The stratagems aren't just a list of dirty tricks. They represent a complete philosophy for navigating challenges. And that philosophy is deeply rooted in Taoism. It teaches you to be flexible, like water, which flows around any obstacle instead of trying to crash through it. It's about efficiency, getting the best possible result with the least amount of effort. But most of all, it's about perspective. It's about learning to see how something that looks like a weakness can actually be turned into your greatest advantage. This ancient quote from the Tao Te Ching just captures the very soul of the 36 Stratagems. It's not the most powerful force that wins, it is the most intelligent and adaptable one. Think about it. In a storm, the rigid oak tree, for all its strength, is the one that breaks. But the soft, flexible bamboo, that's the one that bends and survives. So here's the real point. The next time you face a challenge that seems completely insurmountable, in your career, in a negotiation, in any part of your life, don't just think about how to apply more brute force. Instead, just pause for a moment and ask yourself this one simple question. Where could an indirect approach completely change the entire outcome?